We are here to launch the Creating Little Superheroes program. We are expecting, if you didn't get the memo, we are expecting you to put your hand in your pocket and help us out tonight. So this program is the next evolution of the work of the charity Live, Learn, Survive. Live, Learn, Survive exists to teach children the skills they need to survive their worst day. It is a combination of water and fire safety and first responder skills that our kids can pick up easily. And so far, Live, Learn, Survive have educated more than 30,000 children face to face. If it wasn't a free bar, I'd say your shout. 30,000 children face to face and thousands more online in 6 countries across more than 60 cities, working with more than 100 schools and children's clubs and organisations. Can we just actually give a round of applause for that? Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a thought bubble, right? This is for real. The founders of Live, Learn, Survive, Leigh Mason, round of applause for Miss Leigh, please, up the back. And Trent Maxwell, who most of us will probably know better as lifeguard Maxie from Bondi Rescue. Another round of applause. Are incredibly passionate about their work and already deliver all of the educational workshops, programs that we spoke about just then. That's how they reach the children. And they also have a range of award-winning children's books. All of their work meets school curriculum requirements. Again, this is not just a thought bubble. Now, all of this has also been done, in Leigh's own words, mostly on the sale of a couple of $5 books. Pretty formidable effort. The secret to doing it, as you will come to learn tonight, is in the heart and the determination of both Leigh and Maxie. And it's that heart that has created tonight's event and the reason we have brought you all together. We are here to launch, as I already mentioned, Creating Little Superheroes, the program in which Leigh and Maxie go into schools across Australia and around the world to teach them the skills they need to survive their worst day. Yes, they have already reached more than 30,000 children around the world, but it is the children that are closer to home that they have their eyes and their hearts on now. In Queensland alone, and we'll forget about the fact for a moment that Max is actually from Sydney. In Queensland alone, there are 325,000 primary school children just in our state schools. And across Australia, there are 2.075 million children in primary school. The numbers are huge, but not all of the schools that these children go to can afford to bring the programs in, which is why we are inviting you into the world of Live, Learn, Survive. Creating Little Superheroes is the program specifically focused on funding the Live, Learn, Survive programs in schools affected by fire and floods. Hands up if we know that there's a lot of them right now, right? There is a lot. And also into those schools that are in more disadvantaged areas where funding and budgets don't allow payment for these programs. The fundraising tonight is on 2 levels, but first let me remind you we are all in the running for a styling session with leading Brisbane fashion designer Sasha Drake. Sasha, welcome to tonight and thank you. Yes, it's a lucky door prize. It's valued at $600 and any one of us could win it. A silent auction, which we'll speak more about later, but very briefly, if you haven't found the incredible prizes you can bid on and place your bid, then as soon as we break, I would encourage you to do that. Our prizes are fantastic. There is a framed lifeguard shirt from our own lifeguard Maxie. Value apparently is priceless. There's a Honu retreat, 3 days and 2-night wellness, yoga and Pilates weekend retreat valued at $2,000 from Honu Retreats. There is a Dyson Supersonic hairdryer, ceramic pop, valued at $549, donated directly by Dyson. And there's a Brisbane Bullets framed signed jersey 2024 team, kindly donated by the Brisbane Bullets. But most importantly, we had the Sponsor a School program. You have the opportunity all night to pay $100 for a ticket. That actually gets you 5 raffle tickets, which puts you into the draw to win a fabulous staycation right here at the Hyatt Hotel. They've donated that for us tonight. But that's actually not the reason why you're giving the money. The $100 also gets this. It buys 1 piece in the 10-piece school jigsaws that you see around the room. Each $1,000 raised tonight, so each full school, will sponsor another school. With immense gratitude and thanks to the Honourable Curtis Pitt MP and Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, Leigh and Max have already secured the funding of 8 schools, and there are a number of meetings underway to secure at least that many again. But we can't just rely on these meetings and going one-to-one to reach the sheer number of schools that need the work of Live, Learn, Survive. And that is where you absolutely come into the picture. You can buy a $100 tag. You can buy a whole school for $1,000 down. Or you can go for the top package that some of our sponsors are looking at very seriously right now, which is $5,000 for 5 schools. And yes, we do take Visa, MasterCard and Amex. Because here is the very simple truth. Leigh and Maxie need your support to get into the schools, into the lives of our children, and as you're about to learn tonight, really give our children the skills they need to survive their worst day. Now, we actually aren't here to see me tonight. We're actually all here for Lifeguard Maxie, aren't we? Just kidding. There are so many incredible people in this room, but none more so right now than Trent Maxwell and his partner in Live, Learn, Survive, Leigh Mason. Leigh is about to take over the stage, but first let me introduce her. Leigh is the co-founder, chairperson and driving force behind Live, Learn, Survive, which in 2022 became a registered charity. Now, can I just pause there? They've been doing this work for 9 years. Not as a charity, not as a not-for-profit, not getting donations from anywhere, under their own steam until 2022. So the first 7 years they did all on their own. And they got that done. Leigh is also co-author of Maxie's Beach Rescue picture books for children, which are fantastic, and co-host of the Live, Learn, Survive podcast. Leigh is an experienced business manager and consultant, brings a wealth of business experience into the charity. Together with co-founder Trent Maxwell, Leigh works with the schools, clubs and organisations to bring this education to every child, no matter their location or background. A series of educational workshops and online programs supported by books that meet curriculum. Leigh's work has educated and impacted children in over 30 countries with the work of the charity. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise the roof as we welcome Leigh Mason to the stage.
It was Wednesday night, Life-Saving Club, and it was all ready to start. And the 10-year-old little girl was all ready to go. Pyjamas packed neatly in her bag to get ready for bed after swimming, because it was going to be a late night. But tonight was different. The little girl was going to take the pyjamas out of her bag and put them on over the top of her swimwear. She was going to swim 25 metres and then, while she was treading water, take the pyjamas off and make them into a flotation device. No goggles, shouted the instructor. Whew, sounds a bit harsh, right? Actually, it wasn't. And how would I know? Because that 10-year-old little girl was me, and the lifeguard and the swimming instructor was my mum. Mum was a bit of a trailblazer. Not that she knew it. She doubted herself way too much. She was a teenager of the 60s. Hairspray and backcombing were her best friends. Even to go to the work at the pool, which was admirable because so many days she came home with wet hair. She studied in the 70s. I didn't know anyone else at primary school that had a mum studying in the evening, taking exams to further her career. She was always positive and always trying something different. She was the founder of a life-saving club, not a competitive club, just purely to teach children how to swim and learn life-saving skills. Our family how were your day chats were never dull with Mum. They were always different. On wet hair days, we knew she'd been in and pulled someone out. And on a few sad occasions, we'd hang on her every word when she'd talk about her resuscitation. But the good news is that 3 children got a second chance at life thanks to Mum. Holidays with Mum were a bit different. By the time I was married, we were lucky enough, we maybe went to Spain. But that pool was an issue for Mum. That hotel had no idea they had a new swimming instructor and lifeguard poolside for a fortnight. Sure, she saw the sun loungers, the cocktail bar, But there was an issue. There were kids in that pool that couldn't swim. Kids that spoke all different languages. French, German, Greek, Spanish. Well, my mum could only speak English. By breakfast day 2, she'd have all their abilities assessed and had shared a few, nods of the head and hand gestures with the parents, and the international symbol of friendship, a smile, and off she'd go. He's almost there, she'd declare at dinner, which we knew was family speak. Well, he could always swim. Next day, he'd be swimming. 10 metres was a good solid start, and probably 6 kids a holiday was mum's average. And to mum, that made it a great holiday. She was always determined, always planning for the future. Even when she was terminally ill, she took out a mobile phone on a 2-year plan. Mum had that phone for 14 days. She was always determined and taught me that you can do anything you want to do if you work hard enough. That everyone deserves a second chance, but more importantly, they deserve a solid chance in the first place. And I grew up with a firmly entrenched belief that no child got left behind. I grew up in Nottingham, famous for lace and textile manufacturing that goes back as far as the Industrial Revolution. I left school with a full set of failed A-levels. Did all my resits, more fails. 5, I think, in total. After a 2 years full attendance record and a lot of hard work. They'll send you home if you're really sick, Mum always used to tell me. But I got 2 job offers. The first, in the accounts department at British Telecom, an office job, yes. And the second, half the rate of pay, £1.56 an hour at the local bra factory, with a management traineeship if I showed potential. Truth was, it wasn't even really a job. I just wrote them a letter and said, I love sewing, but feel I have so many more skills to offer the company. What a pitch. I got an interview, I got the job, I made my decision. Come year end, our school sixth form foyer had everybody's results and university and career of choice around the top of the room. Oxford, yes. Durham, Manchester, fantastic. Oh, Barclays Bank accelerated management trainee program, as was my then boyfriend's choice. Excellent, everyone's name was up there. I searched for mine. There's nowhere to be found. Maybe they missed me. Maybe they didn't. Truth was, I remember how it made me feel. I was only 17 years old, but I remember. All kids do. Safely back at home, Dad, still confused, maybe disappointed. The office job, Leigh. But he never, ever once challenged my decision or tried to make me change my mind. It'll be great, Dad, I said. And off I went. And after the initial settling in period, I loved it. I was like a sponge that soaked up all the fun and the noise of a well-run factory. But it was hard work. And never, ever should the work ethic and skill of women that sew all day in a garment factory be challenged. These women were warriors. Yes, Sasha Drake, yes. These women were warriors. But if I'm honest, something else had my attention, and it became a bit of an obsession. Australia. See, when I was 15 years old, Mum and Dad brought my sister and I to Australia. A family reunion, a trip they saved over 5 years for. We made the big trip. I was smitten. Australia had me at g'day. Now remember, I went back. Remember the boyfriend that went to work at the bank? That was Andrew. He was still around. I drove him crazy talking about Australia. And then by the time we were 20, I brought him back with me too. And then he was smitten. He was so smitten, he went home with a fiancée. We got married, we came back again. And it was then that we decided we wanted to emigrate. but we couldn't get a visa. Turns out, Australia didn't want bankers, and whilst I was time served in my profession, I didn't have the much needed diploma. So I quit my job, and I went back to university as a full-time, mature age student. If Australia wants a diploma before they're going to consider giving me a visa, that's what they're going to get. This better pay off was my first thought, because at that time, I was the major family wage earner. And secondly, remember, I failed everything. So with high hopes and spring in my step, off I went to De Montfort University, all the time knowing at the back of my mind, I was not good enough to have been offered a place at 18. But here's the thing, I loved it. 2 years later, I was awarded the Higher National Diploma for Student of the Year. 15 distinctions out of a possible 16. I could pass something. And here's the difference. A different way of learning. And I was learning about something that I was interested in. And I think about this often in the work we do today at Live, Learn, Survive. Back to work, visas were secured, and Andrew and I moved to Australia. As a professional garment technologist, I have been lucky enough to travel all over the world, set up factories, and develop ranges for some of the biggest brands in fashion, in my area of expertise, lingerie and swimwear. And it was swimwear that brought someone else cut from the same cloth as me into my life. It was 2014, and I was launching a new, younger, active label. And I was thinking about having maybe, face of the brand. And a friend told me he knew some of those lifeguards down at Bondi. You know that show, Bondi Rescue. I flew to Sydney and met Trent Maxwell for lunch. He was 23, charming, and the reigning Cleopatra of the Year. I'll just take a drink while that sinks in. Maxie and I love working together, and his enthusiasm to learn about the business was infectious. And out of the blue, he said, "Can I come to Brisbane and visit the office?" "Sure," I said, because word had got out around my friends. "My kids love Maxie," said the PR lady, "and her sister. Then my hairdresser, she's here, yes. And then a friend on Facebook." It's all over when it got on Facebook. Everyone, everywhere, had kids that loved Maxie. So Maxie came to Brisbane, and as Maxie and I both love a random act of kindness, I said to him, "Shall we take some kids swimming?" You see, I knew the kids I had in mind. So we set about planning a swim at sunrise, joined by a surprise special guest. That morning, I stood on the side of the pool, and I kind of knew my swimwear business might struggle a little bit, because there was an energy and a spark of something that excited me way more. The kids were magic. They lit up, they were engaged, had fun, listened, asked questions. It was awesome. Only thing was, I had no idea if Trent, at only 23, could even begin to see the magic that I had seen, and what I thought he could achieve. With a bit of support, I was more than willing to give. If a dozen kids would be this engaged before breakfast, imagine the impact we could have if we got really serious about educating them. One thing I knew for sure, it was my responsibility to tell Trent and maybe plant a seed in his mind. Ideas were sown, ideas evolved. We formed a company. We created a set of award-winning children's books. We founded a charity. And we can and still put kids at the heart of every decision we make. We have shown what you can achieve if you care just a little bit more. We've met 30,000 kids across 6 countries and have children learning online in almost 20 countries. It amazes me every day how we can impact children all around the world. They are pretty special to us, and I'd like to tell you about a few of them. There is the little girl in the UK that has autism and hadn't been to school for 3 years due to trauma from a car accident. Now learning, part of our online program, and watching videos and learning as she can. The granddad that drove his grandson across Ireland just to get a photo with Maxie. He left learning the basics of CPR, granddad in tears, a day that way exceeded his expectation, and a beaming grandson. Granddad knew it was going to be a great drive home. The young teacher in Croatia that wrote to us saying she listens to our podcast every week. It helps her keep a positive mindset and make good decisions about the future of her life. And then little Nico, only 6 years old, came to find us in Aberdeen, Scotland. He spent the day with us, learnt the basics of CPR, and joined our online program. Last year, we had our first major fundraiser, and little Nico walked 42 miles around Inverness with his mum and dad, which sees schools donated to kids in his community. At only 8 years old, Nico was awarded a certificate from school for work in his community. Pretty cool. And this, an email typical of many I'd like to share. Hey Leigh, we've got a little girl that comes to kindy that refuses to dress up as a princess. She comes dressed as a lifeguard. Any chance you can get a message to Maxie? Now, spookily, that kindy was very close to our office. We did more than send a message. Imagine the fun and excitement when Maxie dropped in at afternoon tea to sit down with our little lifeguard, her brother and family, to talk about a few extra lifeguarding tips. 3 years later, we were working with OPSM, new message in the inbox. Maxie was the face of a campaign. Here's a photo of our two little heroes proudly stood outside the promotional poster of Maxie in the window of the OPSM store. Obviously, I sent it to their marketing department and asked them how often they have kids having pictures took outside the shop windows. They sent me 2 pairs of Ray-Ban sunglasses, which I happily delivered to the kids. Now, 6 years on, we did our first community day in Brisbane, and we were joined by our local surf lifesaving club, Coochie Mudlow, who told me about this family, always first to set up and help out, set up patrol. Day that patrol was cancelled because of the weather, these 2 little legends set up patrol in their garden just to practice, keep their skills sharp. Who are these little heroes, you guess? You got it. Our little lifeguard and her brother. No longer lifeguarding at kindy. Oh no, these 2 have progressed up the ladder. They're now looking out for people at the beach. And what about those first dozen kids that went swimming with us all those years ago? Well, one is now a teacher, volunteers for our charity, and is in the room tonight. This is the power and impact of community. If you show you care and you choose to be an encourager, not a critic, it really does make a difference. As I stand here today, I know we all believe in the goodness of our children. It's why we all do what we do. Because we want to keep the flame of brilliance burning bright of our children. And we can only do that if we teach them skills to help them through the hardest of days. So what I want to say is, we can start conversations for all our children to teach them practical skills that support their education. So when they fall into worse days, they're equipped, they know how to stay calm, and they know what to do. Preparing our little kids as we go out the day happens in schools and around homes all around Australia, all around the world. Filling their backpacks for the day that they're going to face, making sure they've got everything they need. School books, check. Water, check. Lunch, check. Footy kit, sports kit. Fingers crossed they've got everything they need. But do they? Is there anything else we can throw in that backpack for the days when maybe the sky's not quite so blue, when there's a storm brewing on the horizon? What if we could maybe throw in a few extra life skills, maybe? What if we could maybe help our kids with their own superhero backpack? What if we could build their backpack so they go out of the door every day and no matter what the day might face, they know they've got a bag full of safety tricks, and whatever happens, I've got this. Imagine they stumble into somebody's worst day, a high-impact event, someone in the community that just in that moment might need a bit of extra help. Now, if you allow me, I'd like to share a story of why I know we can do this and why I know it works. It was October school holidays in a caravan park in the central coast of New South Wales. Zach, Jamie, Ben and Patrick, 13 and 11, walked into the caravan park pool to find 4-year-old Adam slowly sinking. His eyes were slightly open. They thought he was mucking around. In case you didn't know, drowning is silent. The boys waved at little Adam, but his reaction didn't change. So Zach leapt into action and hauled him out with the jacket. He was wearing his jacket. Every second counted, so the boys shouted some adults over, but they didn't seem to do anything. But in the moments that followed, 2 important things came into play, and the boys leapt into action. Number 1, Zach's Year 4 school teacher had taught him to keep the rhythm of CPR to the beat of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. We all know that song, right? And secondly, Zach didn't question his ability to start CPR. He loved Maxie. He'd watched him do it on Bondi Rescue. Zach said, I had no idea how it came back to me, but it just did. The boys continued CPR, rolled little Adam onto his side, cleared his airway, and then he vomited and started to cry, just as the paramedics arrived. Little Adam made a full recovery. His mum believes his toy rolled into the big pool and he fell in trying to retrieve it. He was being supervised, but a split-second distraction meant life could have changed in a heartbeat for that family who had sadly already lost another child to cancer. The 4 boys, our little heroes, were awarded the Pride of Australia Medal for their brave rescue. Weeks later, Maxie and I had the privilege of meeting the boys. We took them some books and took them out for milkshakes. Maxie sat them all down and debriefed the event and told the boys and their parents if they ever wanted to talk about it, they should call him. See, for us, it wasn't just a pat on the back for the boys. Their well-being mattered. What they had done at such a young age was huge. Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see. And I believe we can all impact children's lives for the better. We can all play our part and teach kids skills they need for the life and the days they're going to face. Education for everyone, no child left behind. Let's build them up, raise their self-esteem, show them we care and that we see them and the little heroes that they are and can ultimately become. As we've just discovered, in any moment, someone might need it. And we need boys like Zach, Jamie, Ben and Patrick to be around. The World Health Organization tells us that other than building barriers or limited access, the number 1 approach to reducing drownings is teach water safety to school-aged children. Isn't it crazy that the experts still tell us it's as simple as building barriers? I'm so glad you all came tonight because Weekend Project, Brisbane River. I think this side of the room, you start one end, and this side of the room, you start the other, and we'll meet in the middle, right? You know? Weekend Project. Oh, hang on, Moreton Bay, the dams, the creeks, all those creeks. And guess what we're talking about? Exactly the sorts of places that little boys love to run and play. And the only reason I'm bringing this to your attention is that last year, 71% of drownings of 5 to 14-year-olds were boys. Now, these boys aren't running, jumping in puddles, sliding down waterfalls and jumping in dams on their own. They're always together. They run as a pack. And that's why it's so important that our little boys and girls know how to save themselves if they jump in the wrong part of the dam. Royal Lifesaving Society tell us that only 9% of 10-year-olds know a rescue skill. Only 4% know how to use that skill. And at Live, Learn, Survive, over the last few years, we've worked tirelessly to try and change that statistic. The 2021 census from the Australian Bureau of Statistics tells us that 25% of people left school at year 10 or below, or did not go to school at all. In the 25 to 34-year age bracket, it still sits around 12%, though the number is changing. But you know, it's not all bad news. There are some incredible people doing amazing things that will openly admit they struggled at school. Jamie Oliver left school at 16. Elton John too. Steven Spielberg, he was rejected from film school. And Walt Disney, well, he finally received his honorary high school diploma aged 58. The simple fact is, not every child thrives at school. It's no one's fault. It's just one system trying really hard to fit all. We are all unique. That goes for children too. Some of us are creatives. Some of us struggle with reading. Some of us can't remember. And other of us would do really, really badly trying to hold down a desk job. I bet we all know somebody that had a report card at school saying they taught too much and they'd do only so much better if they could just concentrate. What, you two? Yeah, me. What year, really? Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. Hang on, I'll be back. Sorry. Where was I? So, education. I'm not here to talk about the education system, but we all would know someone that would struggle with it. Yet we all know that every child is a little superhero waiting to break out, no matter their experience at school. As we go around schools and meet organisations, we find them. In the 30,000 we've met, we know who they are. Only recently, after a school visit, the teacher emailed to tell us that the little guy who's not really interested in much and doesn't really like to participate came into school declaring he wants to be a firefighter. This is why we do what we do. And these are the emails that keep the fire burning bright within us. The fact is, every child works hard, but sometimes at school, something does not click. They leave school disengaged, often feeling vulnerable and inadequate. This is the time where the search for belonging in the real world starts. A 2022 survey by Reach Out Australia told us that 57% of young people are stressed and anxious about feeling lonely. This is the time where expectations can be low, confidence too, and they're out in the real world trying to find a tribe and a pack to run with, also whilst trying to hold together their self-esteem. Oh, and don't forget, keep up appearances on social media, showing the world we are living our best life, because that is the world we live in today. It may not be our world, but often is the case. It is theirs. I don't know about you, but I didn't have it all worked out at 18. My career path has taken many twists and turns, but what I do know for sure, some of those things that I learned as a child have stayed with me until today. On the other hand, maths, not much I could probably tell you about maths, except double maths for me was torture. In fact, I probably can't even remember who my teacher was, but I do know that Thursday was the worst day of the week for a whole year. On the other hand, I do know that it was John Ramsay that taught 10-year-old Leigh CPR. A skill I could still use today, though I'm very grateful I haven't had to. But you know what? It's handy to know it's still in my little backpack, just in case I need it. Because, we all don't know what's coming right around the corner. We all have them, don't we? Bad days. The days when you think you should have just stayed in bed. You can be giving the world all your positive vibes, but it's just not happening. And I don't know about you, don't they come really when you don't have time for them? Lost your car keys? Top of the car, anyone? The meeting you missed when you were trying to be in 4 places at once? Or the call from your dad say you can't get football on the TV again? Can you ring Optus, Leigh? Not you, must just be me. As stressful as they seem in the moment, we all forget about them and we'd swap them over the alternative. A day that literally becomes a memory on the timeline of your life. A day you simply never forget. I'll share one of mine if I may. I'm in a petrol station on top of the North Yorkshire moors. We're on our way to a school to visit a group of very excited kids, with Maxie and I working in the UK. Call from my husband. Can't talk, I'll ring you back. You have to talk, Leigh. It's your dad. My dad lives in Australia. Dad had overdone it in the garden. Fortunately, had taken himself to the doctor. 2 days later, he's in emergency surgery, having stents fitted for 2 severely blocked arteries. Dad could have dropped at any time, in the shops, in the garden. We were very lucky that day, and thankfully, Dad is still well and with us today. If every day went to plan, there would be no emergency services. Imagine a world without them. Don't we all sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that they're on the end of the phone 24/7? These are the heroes that just rock up in the community, no judgment, step aside everyone, we've got this. And that's why we are so grateful at Live, Learn, Survive that you're allowing me here today, that we can share our stories. So as these kids begin to encounter some of their worst days, they are equipped, they are confident, they have skills, and they know what to do. None of us know what's coming around the corner. But isn't it handy to know we've got a few skills in our backpack if we need them? As we travel the world with Live, Learn, Survive, every town and city is different. The accents, the dialects, but the thread that runs through every single town and community we've ever met is the desire to care about the children that we are responsible for. You've heard it before, we just want the kids to do better than we did. Have more opportunity, go out and have a great life. And I believe if we are in a position to help, then it's our responsibility to do so. We can all play our part and help these kids they need with the skills they need for the days they might face. What a gift. Imagine that we can help our kids build their own superhero backpacks. What an amazing gift. Not a big flashy gift, the quiet gift that whispers, you've got this. I'll be here if you need it. I'm sure you will all agree, there can be no more precious gift in the world than giving a child the skills they need to keep themselves safe. So what we're going to do is instill into our young people auto responses to high impact events. Or what we might prefer is show the kids what to do if it all hits the fan. And the easy thing is, we can start today. So when we next sit down for dinner, turn off the TV, put the phones and the tablets down, and start a conversation. It could be the most important 30 minutes you spend together as a family. And the great thing is, we can start today. So let's get started. Number 1, situational awareness. Where even are we? Do you know? Number 2, the importance of staying calm and sending for help. Number 3, calling 000. What happens next? Number 4, doctors ABCD. What even is it? Do we all know? And number 5, smoke alarms save lives. Know how to get out and stay out. Imagine how great it would be if we could teach some of those practical skills. As we can't predict the future. No one knows what's coming around the corner. But having a few of those skills in the backpack, how great would that be? So let's recap them again and start at the beginning. And hopefully there's something there you can put it in your pocket, take it home with you and share it with your family and friends. Number 1, situational awareness. That our kids know where they are and the surroundings that they are in at all times. Information signs are everywhere. We walk past them every day. Look up, read them, take notice. Information is powerful. Seconds count. Number 2, the importance of staying calm and sending for help. If our little superhero stumbles into a high-impact event, that they first know how to check for danger to themselves first, and then check for anyone else and call 000, get the emergency services on the way. Calling 000, imagine our little hero has the confidence to call 000, but even better, when the dispatcher answers on the other end of the phone, they know the questions they might be asked. Information is powerful. Seconds count. And number 4, doctors ABCD, that kids learn the basics of CPR. And in turn, know what a defibrillator is, and then eventually where to find one and how to use one. And lastly, smoke alarms save lives. In the event of a fire, know how to get out of their home and have a family meeting point, a place where everyone can gather. Then when the firefighters arrive, there can be a head count and they make sure that no one is trapped inside. I don't know about you, simple conversations, and I think that's a good, solid start. We all think it will never happen to us, and I truly hope with all my heart it never does. But life is tough, and the key to survival is being prepared. And my wish is there's one piece of information in there that you can take away for your family. Remember Zach? He said he had no idea how he remembered. It just came back to him. In the same way that I could make a flotation device out of a pair of pajamas tomorrow. Kids remember, and if they learnt it having fun, then all the better. So now it's time for me to stop talking, because this is where together we take action and start a conversation. We need you and we need your support. And what I'm asking is for you to come and walk with Maxie and I, the work we do at Live, Learn, Survive, and show these kids the way. Gather around us like we gather around the kids. And like ripples in a pond, I promise you the impact of our actions would spread further than you could ever and have imagined. 30,000 kids we've met so far. This year we want to meet 30,000 more. Over 70 schools. This year we want to go to 70 more. Our online program in almost 20 countries. Australia and New Zealand, sure. But what about the USA, Canada, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales? In Europe, the Netherlands, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Amsterdam, and even the United Arab Emirates, Singapore, and as far as Trinidad and Tobago, has seen kids reach out to us with a desire to learn. We can't do it alone. We have never let a child down, but we need you and we need your support. Together, we can pay it forward. We can teach skills that could be life-changing. They could even be life-saving. And there's no better feeling in the world, Maxie and I will tell you, than saving or changing a life.